Hey everyone, it's Dave and Olive. Thanks for joining us here at Book Blather, where we talk about the books we've read recently to help spread the joy of reading. Today, we're talking about Fables, but these are not your mother's fables. These are Eric LaRocca's fables. Thanks for joining us, everyone. If you're a regular, thanks for coming back. If you're new here, we review a lot of horror, sci-fi, some fantasy, but we also mix it up with all other kinds of fiction and nonfiction as well. We try to keep it pretty mixed up and widely read, so we hope you'll stick around and join us for some future videos. Today, we are talking about the latest two books by Eric LaRocca. Now, if you're been here before, you've seen us mention Eric LaRocca in the past, but if you're not familiar with him, Eric LaRocca is a relatively recent, pretty popular author of short horror fiction, novellas, and some short stories. And so Eric LaRocca sort of exploded onto the scene not that long ago with a book called Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. And we did a review of a book of his in the spring called You've Lost a Lot of Blood. And so in that video, we kind of overviewed Eric LaRocca's publication history and what he's written. And so we'll link that video at the end if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about him. Today, we're talking about his two latest ones. So the first one we're going to talk about is We Can Never Leave This Place. This is published by Trepidatio Publishing in June of 2022. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And this is the previous works that we've read of Eric LaRocca. The couple that we read, they were told in a very different writing style. Those were told basically in epistolary format. So the writing was presented in others. It wasn't presented in like a third-person narrative. You were reading either people's chats or emails or transcripts, things like that. And so, when things have gotten worse since we last spoke, you didn't really get any sense of just, Eric LaRocca's prose style. You got a little bit in certain parts and You've Lost a Lot of Blood, but this was really our first chance where the entire narrative, we got to really see the type of beautiful prose that Eric LaRocca is capable of. And it is truly beautiful prose. The writing in this book is absolutely amazing. So what is this about? Basically, this is one of those stories. This I thought was very much told in the style of a fable, but in a very despairing, depressing fable. Not your traditional fable that you tell to children, of course. It's set in sort of an apocalyptic setting. It's a no-name city with what seems to be an unnamed war going on, but it's definitely this very depressing setting where our main character is living with her really awful mother after the death of her father. And they're one of the last people in one of these apartment complexes in, like I said, what appears to be a war-torn area that is clearly very dangerous outside. So first of all, LaRocca does such a great job of describing this very apocalyptic, depressing setting. They just live in absolute squalor, in complete filth, just absolute, desperate situation. And the imagery in this apartment is so vivid. And so the story tells the tale of this girl trying to deal with her father's death when her only support is her awful mother. And her father's death happens right in the beginning, and then a stranger shows up at the door, and she is surprised to see her mother welcome the stranger into the house, who offers them protection. And it goes from there, and basically other individuals show up, and it's told very much in a fable format because it has I guess what you call a dark fantasy element to it, and a lot of the individuals that you see, I don't want to ruin it, but let's just say that they're not all of the human persuasion. And so you're she goes through this really just sort of survival quest within her own apartment, and there's a lot of she is dealing with just this just fear and suffering and pain, and you're watching her go through this in the context of this tale, and there's always the question of what is actually happening versus what is our main character seeing, and how is she processing all this horrific stuff that she's having to suffer through. So that's all I want to say about it, because I don't want to ruin it. But there's a lot happens. The pacing it escalates very quickly. The pacing is just really fast. It's really told beautifully. The prose is just phenomenal. It is unbelievably beautiful prose. It's one of those books where as you're going through it, you're thinking, oh, the author is not wasting a single word. And just the imagery and the symbolism that's presented in this sort of fable, that's told, that's representing the emotions that this poor girl is going through, it's really phenomenal. This was a definite 5-star read. We would highly, highly recommend this. Okay, and the second book that we read is They Were Here Before Us. And this is by Bad Hand Books. This just came out in October. I think it was October. You see, we pre-ordered, so we got ourselves a nice signed copy. But this is kind of similar a little bit to the last one that we just talked about. So as you can see, LaRocca called this a novella in pieces. And I'm not sure why he called it that, but I think really what this is it's kind of a collection of short stories, all with very similar theme to them. And I'm not sure if there was any, aside from this common thematic thread, I'm not sure if there was some additional reason that they were collected this way and called a novella in pieces. I don't know, maybe Eric will let us know. But that's so far. And if you got something else out of it, please let us know in the comments below, because I'd be curious to hear it. But the way this novella is broken up is it's basically broken up into 3 sections. And the first section is called They Were Here Before Us, which is the title of the book. And that has 4 very short tales in it that are also very much like Fables. They are all told from the perspective of non-human characters, each very different, each dealing with some very powerful, very strange kind of love, usually always relating to death in some way. And then the second two sections are called When It's Dark Out and Bird and Bug Are Happy. And each of those sections is one story that is actually dealing with the characters that are telling those stories are humans. And those characters are, those stories again are like the previous 4 that are told from the non-human perspective. Those 2 are also dealing with some very difficult facets of love and its relation to death. And so that's basically the common theme throughout all of these stories. Every single story, they were all pretty quick, all really good. The prose, once again, was absolutely phenomenal in these. But all of these stories were told, the first 4 that were told under, They Were Here Before Us, that are all told from non-human perspectives. These were all really intense, really strange forms of love. And so they're not, they're pretty intense, and the stories might not be for everybody. You have to know that going into it, that they are pretty graphic at times. I think LaRocca does a really great job of taking these very unusual situations and very unusual perspectives, and exploring the pain of the different types of love that is felt in each of these in relation to the death that is going on. And it was really, really unique. And then the next two that were told from these human perspectives, those were also dealing with, basically a love loss. One more from a mental perspective and the other from a physical perspective. But each sort of exploring this attempt in a very despairing way to try to, resurrect or salvage that lost love under these horrible circumstances in sort of a new but very horrific way, to try to, as I said, kind of salvage what was left by resurrecting it in this different format. Very, very powerful. All the stories in this were just, the human and non-human alike, they were just very visceral imagery that was happening throughout this book. So another one that we would highly recommend this. You will blow right through it. Both of these books, We Can Never Leave This Place and They Were Here Before Us. You'd think I can remember the titles. I just talked about them. But both of these, especially this first one, a bunch of different trigger warnings. And pretty much some of the worst ones that you could think of, I think. I don't want to spoil anything. But know that if there are certain... you got to know it going in, that it may be difficult to handle before you do. But if you don't have a problem with that, you think, that would strongly recommend this, because these were both really, really powerful books emotionally, and the prose was just beautiful in both of them. So can't highly recommend these enough. Okay, was that anything else you wanted to say about the books? No? All right, so that was it. We Can Never Leave This Place by Eric LaRocca, and They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. Both highly recommended. So what else do we have to say? A couple housekeeping items. We are doing 2 different buddy/group reads in the Discord in November. One is Cuts by Richard Lehman, and the other is No Exit by Taylor Adams. Cuts is by Richard Lehman, is a horror novel, and No Exit is a best-selling thriller. That's inspiration for the movie that came out a little while back. So if you're interested in joining either one of those, just jump into the Discord. The link for that is below. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so that you get notified the next time Olive says it's okay to upload another video. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.